Hello there, listeners. Welcome to the second part of our Liga podcast. We will be doing a tactical review and kind of a season preview. To kick things off, we have Darius with us again.
Hey guys.
And Marquinhos ACM.
Hello.
The first team I want to talk about is Real Madrid. 3 seasons in, we kind of get an idea of what Ancelotti is trying to do, what he wants. My questions about Madrid are Ancelotti and Ronaldo, who has only scored 1 goal this year. Is that much of a worry, or do you think Ancelotti will have to adapt his tactics to get the most out of Ronaldo? Darius?
I don't know if it's so much that Ancelotti is going to adapt his tactics. I think it may be a little bit more of the reverse, where I think Ronaldo's just going to have to, he's going to have to find his feet a little bit more with the way Ancelotti's setting up the team, especially with Isco slotting in behind him. So I think it just may take a little bit, just a little more game time to see Ronaldo coming into his own again. I mean, in terms of the last game with Athletic Bilbao, you can see how, we seem to be in this sort of flux formation with starting off with a 4-3-3 and also going into to ending the game when Casemiro came on, almost like a 4-4 traditional 2 up front. You're seeing a lot of play going down the left side, especially with Marcelo, Modric, Isco, Ronaldo linking up, where you're seeing a lot more direct play, rightly so, because of Di Maria's ability to run forward and back. So in terms of Ronaldo having to, or Ancelotti adapting his tactics for Ronaldo, I think it may cause somewhat of an issue, because it's not just Ronaldo that he needs to adapt. Now with the addition of Bale and the type of player that Isco is, just as much as he likes to pop up all over the field, him being also a threat himself just outside the box or inside the box, I think Ronaldo is going to have to adapt somewhat his game as well to the new formation, because it seems like Real this season is at a lot more of an open type formation, where you have players that have a lot more freedom versus what Mourinho liked in terms of his 4-2-3-1 setup, where everybody knew their role and pretty much that everything at the end was going to go through Ronaldo, which made us a lot more predictable, I think. It gave us a lot of problems when teams tend to double team Ronaldo. I think Ancelotti wants a more fluid game where the threats are coming from, different players out wide. Also from his media punta that Isco is slotted in for. So that's my take on it.
Do you think that this will end up benefiting Ronaldo? It sounds like what you're saying is that Ancelotti's trying to take the load off of Ronaldo's shoulders and give everyone else more roles and more responsibility.
Oh yeah, and absolutely. And I think it should be like that, because just in terms of threat distribution, as a team, you always want to have, the more threats you have going forward, the better it is for your team, because like I said, you could notice last season that, especially when it came to the very good marking, hard disciplined defenses, once they realize that, all you have to do is double team Ronaldo, you can really sometimes push him to the fringes of the game. That's not to say that Ronaldo didn't step up enough times for the team and came through even sometimes with double marking and hard tackling. But I think Ancelotti recognizes that with the talent we have, why not have a tactical formation or a game that adds threats from all sides and coming through the middle. Whether or not that may relate in Ronaldo's more goals is a question mark. I don't think he may have as many goals as he had in previous seasons when the whole play went through him. But at the same time, I think the team in general may benefit, as we have seen, because if it's not Ronaldo, cutting in and taking those dangerous shots or making his runs, he's linking up with Isco, who's drifting into the box and coming back and causing headaches for the defense. And with the addition of Bale, that's going to be the same side. I think the same thing for the right side. I think defenses are going to have to worry about all three of them coming at them. I think it bodes well for us going forward, and I think it's going to terrorize a lot of defenses in La Liga.
Yeah, I think a lot of defenses are sweating about dealing with Ronaldo and Bale now, and Isco too. Did you think that there was any role for Ozil in this formation, or is that why he was kind of left out so often?
Yeah, you know what? I think you have a great point there. I think that did definitely have something to do with it. I think we all can agree that Ozil, when pushed, the type of player he is, to be pushed out to the right side and to be asked to make the constant runs that Di Maria does, for instance, you could see that that was not exactly. I mean, I think short of coming out and vocalizing it, I think he might have even mentioned it a couple times in interviews that he prefers to play that center role. I think pushing him out to the right side, you could see that he's not as effective in terms of his play because he is asked to obviously track back a lot, to take on a lot more defensive responsibilities, which is not the type of player that I see Ozil as, which Di Maria excels at. And I think with Bale in that slot, I think we all know. I think Bale can definitely come back. He definitely likes to track back. He's a very hard worker. Likes to stick his foot in. I mean, he started his career as a defender, as a fullback. So I can see him definitely excelling in the type of formation that Ancelotti seems to be introducing to the squad this season.
Okay. Marcos, you're pretty familiar with Ancelotti. How do you think Real Madrid will set up under him? Do you think he has enough in his tactical toolbox to deal with Bale and Ronaldo?
Yeah, I think he has. I mean, from seeing Ancelotti back in Milan days, he usually uses for the Christmas tree formation, the 4-3-2-1, or use the traditional 4-4-2. And even then, when we had still talents like Kaká and Rui Costa and Pirlo and Seedorf coming in, everyone kind of thought the same thing. Like, there's too much talent. There's nothing way he can manage all this. But he found a way and made Milan really successful that time. I think he can do the same with Madrid, even with the arrival of Bale and Isco and Ronaldo. I watched part of the Real Betis game, the first game of the season, and I saw him deploy the 4-3-3 as mentioned, and with Ronaldo on the left wing. And it was kind of free-flowing compared to the Madrid that Mourinho ruled under, or Mourinho used. And like Darius already mentioned, it's more free-flowing than the strict formation that Mourinho used. And I think what he can actually gel everything together, all this talent he has, and make Madrid, I suppose, a better team than they were last season.
Are Madrid going to be a team that's still going to rely on the counterattack, or are they going to be one to push teams from the start of the game? What do you think about that? Like the changing of philosophy from a counterattack to, I guess, more Barcelona-esque? Well, not Barcelona-esque. It's pretty tough, but...
Yeah, I could see counterattacking still be used as an option, but I don't think it would be as dependent as it was under Mourinho. It'd be a little more possession-ish type control of the ball, or control of the play. Ancelotti has tried through Chelsea, PSG, Milan, blah, 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 everyone he's been at. And I think it'd be more possessive than counterattacking, and I think they still can create tons of chances off of that, just with the talent they got as well.
What do you think of that, Therius?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think definitely Ancelotti is trying to introduce more of a possession-based game. I think he does have, certain players, especially our creative players, tasked to be the ones to, carry the ball up and to create. That's why I think you'll see a lot of that developing on the left side of the pitch, because we have such great possession-based players there with Marcelo straight from the back, with Modric linking up with him onto Isco, then onto Ronaldo, and even into Benzema, who can all, they can manage the ball pretty good and give some great passes. I honestly don't see a problem with our counterattack. I think that is another tool in the box that we have. I think our defenders, especially even starting with Diego Lopez, I think it's ingrained to them from last season and the season before that when you have a chance and you win the ball outside the 18-yard box, I mean, you can just see how our pivots, look for our link-up guys like Modric and whether that be, Xabi Alonso in there, like, they're going to start the counterattack at blistering speed. And, like I said, with Ronaldo and Bale now on each side of the pitch, if that's where they're played, I think the counterattack is still going to be a very formidable arsenal in our bag.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. The Real Madrid counterattack it hits you so quickly. I think it takes like 10 seconds for the ball to come from Iker's hands or Diego Lopez's hands into the back of the other net, and it's just that fast. But I do think that Real Madrid had some problems last year because they relied so much on the counterattack that some of the teams, they just let Madrid have the ball, and Madrid seemed a little confused of what to do with it. and they dropped a lot of points from that.
Oh yeah, definitely. That part of the game, I think, became somewhat predictable. Like I said, when you play up against the top teams of Europe, and they're so well organized, especially when it comes to taking care of the ball. The counterattack is not as effective anymore because, I mean, you have teams that, basically are not going to cough it up as easily. So you can't rely on just the counterattack. I think the addition of Isco is just glaring at how, it's giving us definitely the ability to have a more possession-based game through the middle, and him being, a threat, whether it's just outside the box or inside the box. I think you're going to see a more balanced approach for Real Madrid this season. The only thing that concerns me so far in the first 3 games, especially with the Real Betis games, and we can all chalk it up to, it's the beginning of the season. It's only 3 games in. Everyone's still sort of, figuring out their role and what they need to do. There are times I think we are so concerned with moving the ball forward that we tend to spread our lines out quite a bit. And Real Betis, especially with some quick players there, I mean, they were finding holes down the middle, and they were kind of carving us out for good periods of the match. I mean, it was a well-fought match. I give all the credit to Real Betis for finding those holes. But I was just a little more concerned with our team in the defensive end. But knowing Ancelotti and him being a defender in the past, I'm sure he'll straighten that out real quick with the guys.
Yeah, I don't think defense is going to be an issue for Real Madrid at all. You had something to add, Marcos?
No, nothing.
Okay. With that, let's move on to Barcelona. So they brought in a new manager, Tata Martino, 3 weeks in. What do you guys think of him so far? Marcos?
I think he's a good pickup for Barcelona over Tito. Well, mainly because Tito's out for medical reasons. But yeah, I think Tata, the way he came in with his introduction of how he plans to keep the same Barcelona philosophy but add more of a final product and more simplicity to the game, I think he's looked good for Barcelona right now, and I think he has the right idea going forward for them to solve the problems Barcelona had last season with issues of unable to find the final product with all their possession.
Yeah, but the thing is that after playing Atletico, it's clear that there's still a lot of problems, especially in the playmaking kind of area. Atletico, they defended like beasts, but Barcelona didn't really get many chances to attack them. What do you think of Tata Martino, Darius?
I didn't know much about Tata. I know that Messi knows him fairly well. I think Messi had somewhat of an influence on that Barcelona choice. Tata was coming from, was it New Old Boys in Argentina? So, but what I do see from Tata, it seems like he was the right guy to come in to sort of keep the status quo. Like, I mean, to me, Barcelona tactically didn't really have to change too much. I know that Neymar, with the addition of Neymar, again, you may have Neymar having to go through a period of adjusting himself, but other than that, Barcelona's game hasn't changed much, and I think Tata was a good addition to because Barcelona is not a squad that you can just get any old manager to come in with his ideas and just try to change things radically, especially because Barcelona's game is proven. I mean, they've gotten results for years now, so I think Tata was a good addition to Barcelona. Definitely.
Yeah, I like Tata's appointment. It brings a lot of continuity with the team. His philosophy matched that of Barcelona's and Pep's and Tito's and Cruyff's, and the list goes on. So far, what I like from Tata is he's reintroduced this pressing game, this high pressure, try and get the ball as quickly as possible and just hit them as quick as possible, kind of like Madrid's counterattack. I also like his attacking tactics. So far, what I see is that he likes to get people in the box. The more players in the box, the more movement in the box, and hopefully the defenders kind of lose track of one of the players, and that's when the openings start. He hasn't used width as much, but he does rely on the width from fullbacks, especially Dani Alves, which Dani Alves looks like a lot better player than last year. Last year he looked a little bit lost, but now he's kind of getting inside there. He's going inside the box. He's going towards the corners, which is nice to see. You touched on Neymar a little bit, though, and this is where I really like Tata. A lot of people expected Neymar to start right away, but I like the slow integration with Neymar. It's a lot better to be safe with Neymar. Club invested a lot of money in him, and a lot of people don't know this, but the club actually hired Ed Milson to be like a mentor for Neymar. So Ed Milson will be living in Barcelona, and he will help Neymar to adapt to the European style of life, which is really awesome. And another thing is that he's not afraid to bench Messi. Messi respects him. That's just some of my thoughts. Do you guys have anything to add, especially on the Neymar part?
Yeah, Neymar. Just I agree with everything you said there. I think Neymar. I think it's a smart thing to do to slowly integrate him for the same reason that you hit on was. I mean, it's a big, it's an investment that they made. I mean, it was a large chunk of change that they spent on Neymar. He was touted as the talent coming out of Brazil at the time. So I mean, just to give him an opportunity to find his feet with the club. There's absolutely nothing wrong, especially with such a young player especially at that age. I think sometimes, having a bad string of games, especially with the pressure that he's under at Barcelona, could be absolutely detrimental for him. I think, him being a South American player, especially, I think they have to be a lot more concerned with his mental state, him being so far away from his home. I mean, yes, it helps that he has Brazilian speakers on the team. I'm sure he's feeling at home in Barcelona. I'm sure they made him feel really welcome. But I wouldn't rush it. Yeah, I would not rush his integration. I think Tata's doing a great job. And frankly, when he came on off the bench, I remember in the Atletico game, I think, didn't he come off the bench and score a header right away? It's not like he's going to have any issues sort of coming off the bench right now anyways. I think he's also appreciative of the fact that Tata pacing himself with him.
Before I toss this over to Marcos, I just want to mention Neymar has debuted with Santos, Brazil, and Barcelona by scoring a header goal, or that's his first goal in each of those three teams. Marcos, what do you think of Neymar?
I mean, I think you guys hit it right. It's supposed to be yeah, it's smart not to rush him in immediately without knowing exactly the tactics. Still learning to get tactics and familiarizing himself with his teammates. And I mean, I think it would have backfired if you just started him every game and expected, and then him not knowing exactly what to do yet would have just backfired on the fans, on the team as well. So I think Tata was smart in keeping him there. I think Neymar will be a success, though. I think he'll eventually find himself in the starting 11 as time goes on, and I think he'll help out Barcelona in the way of creativity and helping out Messi with the pressure of the other defenders constantly marking him.
Yeah, Neymar has also gone under a lot of criticism about adapting the European style of play, and a lot of people were expecting him to be the biggest diver to come into football, and a lot of his antics from South America were to translate directly into Europe, but we haven't really seen much of that. I think that's a huge indication of how much he's matured over even the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, do you guys have anything to add to Barcelona or Neymar?
No, I think we covered it pretty good there.
Okay, so after Madrid and Barca, let's go over to the third team that we will be talking about today, and that is Atletico. So, Marcos, what do you think the goals for this year are?
I think Atleti's goals are pretty straightforward. Try to finish top 3 again, probably challenge for the title, at least for the beginning, I guess. Probably advance in the European stage. I think try to advance out of the group stages would be a good goal for them. Other goals probably repeat a Copa del Rey Championship. I don't know. And then definitely improve their record against Barcelona and Real Madrid. I think last season, the regular season, they went 0-4 against those two.
Yeah, those are some good goals. Yeah. They do put up quite a fight against the big two. They haven't lost against Barcelona in 2 matches already, so that's a very positive start.
Yeah.
What do you think, Darius?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go a little further with that. I think Simeone has got that team believing that their goal is to take it all. I mean, take the league, take the Copa, to go as far as they can in Champions League. How realistic that is, that's yet to be seen. But the way I see Simeone as a coach and the way I see that Atletico Madrid team performing, even from last season, it looks like they're just continuing on. If anything, they're more confident. we all know what a pain in the butt they can be when it comes to playing them, because I mean they're such a hard-nosed team. They have great great possession players, possession type players. They have great runners. They have height on the team. They got depth. They got strength. I mean, all around, I can't see why that team is not going to go really far and be really successful against the big two this season. And I think I give a lot of the credit, if not all the credit, to Diego Simeone, who I think has just got that team believing in themselves to the point where it's not like, can you compete with these guys? It's like, listen, they're going to have to compete with you when they step on the pitch.
That is a very good point. Atletico have a really great team. They have a lot of promising players and players which are already established. And I think that we'll see that in the Champions League that they are not a joke team, and that this two-horse race thing in the Liga, although it may be a little bit true, does not mean that the other teams are not quality at all. But yeah, talking about how great the team is, who do you guys think will be the key players for Atletico this year? After losing Falcao, it's a pretty big void in the attack there. Marcos?
Arda Turan already had a big impact on the season last season, and I expect the same from him in terms of creativity and playing the final ball. I also expect a lot more from Koke. I think he'll develop into a more important role for the team. And, of course, Diego Costa will also help out that void left by Falcao in terms of goal scoring. I think he will step up a lot more as well. And alongside with David Villa, both of them, I don't even see goal scoring as a problem anymore. Falcao, with the goal scoring void that Falcao left, I don't see that as a problem anymore.
Yeah, I don't see that as a problem either. And there's also Leo Baptista as well in their attacking ranks. They have lots of attacking depth. They actually might have more than Real Madrid if you just look at the striker position alone, although you can't compete with Ronaldo or Bale. But yeah, Therius, who do you think will be the key players for Atletico this season?
Yeah, I have to agree. He mentioned Koke. I think Koke is going to be him, even with him getting called up to the Spanish national team. I think he's going to have a lot of confidence. In terms of, David Villa also, I mean, Diego Costa, he's good for at least over 10 goals this season, if not more. David Villa is going to add to that tally as well, and he's also going to cause a great deal of balance there in the front line. But in terms of offense, I mean, I'm more worried about when I play Atletico Madrid, the goals coming from even all the other guys. I mean, their midfielders, the defenders coming up on corner kicks and whatnot. I mean, out of the 10 goals that they've already scored, 6 of them have come from their non-attacking players, like Koke's got one, I know Turan's got one, Thiago's got one, Raul Garcia's got 2, Rodriguez has got 1. So between them, I mean, Diego Costa's got 3 and Villa 1 in the league and 1 in the Super Cup. But I mean, 6 out of the 10 goals coming from other players than their front line there. So that, as a Real Madrid fan or any team in La Liga, I would say, it's not only their offense up top that we need to worry about. It's also the guys behind them coming up there.
Oh, that's a scary stat there. Yeah, I also thought that Koke would be a huge player this season. I think he's going to attract so much attention this year from his performances. I think last year he was one of Europe's best crossers. Another player which I think is going to be hugely important is Mario Suarez. Their kind of defensive midfielder, their holding midfielder. He's going to have to dictate a lot of the tempo, him and Koke. The team is extremely well built. I don't really see any flaws with the team. I think maybe Juanfran when he gets a little too lazy to track back, but that's really the only thing that I see that I can really criticize them on. Simeone has built the team extremely well. As you said before, they have that kind of fighting spirit that they can do anything, which is very Simeone-like. Yeah, and it's going to be a joy to watch them this season. And for Atletico fans, I think it's going to be the first of many great seasons, just as long as Simeone stays there. So our next section, we're talking about the other teams in La Liga. I wanted everyone to present a team that our listeners can keep an eye on this season, and also a player to keep an eye on. So I'll start with you, Marcos. What team did you think we should keep an eye on?
I think the team we should keep an eye on is Athletic Bilbao. I think they're looking to overcome the demons they had last season from having to face the relegation battle for a bit. And now it's kind of a new era for them as they fired Bielsa. and also moved out of their old stadium, San Mamés, into a new San Mamés. And so they believe they hired Valverde, who was coaching Valencia last season, as their coach, and he also spent a good amount of playing time in the Basque club, so I think he knows how things work there pretty well. So as I mentioned before, I think Bilbao wants to forget the demons they had to fight last season, and are trying to get a big turnaround this season to what they were 2 seasons ago when they were in the final of both the Europa League and the Copa del Rey. And I think people expected a lot of them that time. They got some big signings too. I believe they signed Beñat from Real Betis, and I believe he can largely fill that void that Xavi Martinez left when he went to Bayern Munich, and that was kind of a point they missed from last season. Another big signing that actually won't be considered signing because they kept him is Andre Herrera. Since he didn't move to United, I think he'll be effective as a big-time player for Bilbao as well this season. And I think Valverde will be very thankful to have him at his disposal. They also signed Quique Sosa. He was, I think, the prolific goal scorer from Osasuna. I think he was brought in to replace Llorente at the goal scoring front, and since Llorente had a bad season last season, mainly for being benched, I think Quique Sosa will come in and help with the goal scoring threat they have. And they also have a bunch of young talents emerging. I think one to break out is Emerick Laporte, the defender, 19-year-old. I think he's bound to have a good season, and as well as Iker Muniain. He had a really mediocre last season from all the hype he got from the season before, but I think he's going to bounce back this season as well. And under Valverde, I think, and with the talent in the squad, I believe Bilbao will actually fight for a European spot this season.
Yeah, it seems after last season, the only way to go is up for Bilbao. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with Iker Muniain last year, but I think he will definitely bounce back. He's doing things right. He's putting his head down and working hard. The team is overflowing with young talent. It's not just Ander Herrera. There's Susayeta, and then there's DeMarcos as well. And their academy is one of the best in La Liga, and it really shows in the first team. Tharius, which team would you like to talk about?
I guess I'll highlight Villarreal, the Yellow Submarine. I think, coming, I know it's early in the season, but, they've gotten the 3 games out of 3. I think it's a great start for the squad. I know they had a few people come in and a few people leave. They had Jeremy Berbe that was added to the roster, who came in on a £1.2 million transfer. We had Giovanni Dos Santos they picked up for £5.5 or £5.2 million. So they had some additions. They did lose Zapata to AC Milan and some other players, but the team with their new coach Marcelino coming in, I think he's got a great start from them. I know it's early in the season, but they are a team that definitely can get some results, and some of the higher teams or the bigger clubs need to take them seriously. And we got them first game back after the international break the following weekend, so I'm looking forward to that game, and I think we need to take care because I think we're playing them in Villarreal. It's definitely a team to look out for, especially with the likes of Giovanni Dos Santos up top and Jeremy Berbe. That can cause you quite a bit of problems.
Yeah, they have a lot of great players. One of the players which scares me is Uche. Just his pace he's probably one of the fastest players in La Liga. As a striker, that's pretty frightening. It's also awesome to see Villarreal back in the Premier Liga so quickly. They're one of the places which was really a joy to watch. I think they're still like one of the smallest teams to ever host the Champions League semifinal. I think the city itself has like a population of 50,000. You never know it inside the stadium because of such a great atmosphere. My team, which I want to keep an eye on, is Celta de Vigo. I think a lot of you guys could have probably guessed that I really like the team. First off, I really like their manager appointment and Luis Enrique. He used to coach the Barcelona B team before he left to Roma. And then I don't think he got sacked from Roma. I thought he left on mutual consent just because of some things that didn't work out. But it's really great seeing him back in La Liga or back in Spain and with La Liga. He's made some great transfers. The first one is Charles, who's already got some goals on the board this year. Charles was the leading goal scorer in the Segunda League, and it looks like he's adapting extremely well to the new system. There's actually a lot of ex-Barcelona players, Celta de Vigo, which is very promising. The likes of Fontas, Nolito, Rafinha. They're all ex-Barcelona guys, so they're going to adapt really well to them. The likes of Rafinha, Fontas, and Nolito actually played under Luis Enrique before, so I don't think you'll see much of a problem from those guys. What you can expect from Luis Enrique is almost the same thing as you saw from Pep Guardiola. You get a fluid attack, and you get that really hard defensive pressure. That's going to be a battleground playing in Celta. Next, I wanted to just talk about some players. I asked each of you to highlight a player in the Liga. Darius, who do you think will become a star in La Liga this season?
Well, I think I mentioned him actually earlier in the podcast. I think we should look out for Haris Seferovic of Real Sociedad. I think he has the potential to be a massive star. I mean, obviously he's playing alongside some great talent up in Real Sociedad. But, I mean, this is a guy who came over for next to nothing to Real Sociedad. And being only 21 years of age, I think he's got a big opportunity here to kickstart his career again. Just like Carlos Vela, I think he's never been as on top of his game like he has been now, Carlos. I think he's going to be a great guiding force for Haris Seferovic. I think the player himself, if you watch him play, he's just a powerful, out-and-out number 9 who's dangerous inside the box, outside the box. He's great at headers. He's got speed. He's just, it's just going to take him maybe a few more games to really get into the rhythm of La Liga. But from what we've seen of him thus far, it looks like a really great signing for Real Sociedad. And definitely a player to worry about when you're facing him.
I haven't really seen much of Real Sociedad this year, but I watched that Lyon match, and he was extremely effective, and he got a lot of scoring chances. I think he still needs to fine-tune himself because of so much time on the bench last year and not playing. But he's definitely a player who's going to light things up in La Liga. Marcos, do you have any player that you want to keep an eye on?
The player I chose, we kind of talked a bit already, Leo Baptistao. I'm not going to go too much in detail because I think we've covered him a good bit. But, I mean, he was brought in for a good chunk of change from Rayo Vallecano. I believe he will go down with the names such as Torres and Aguero and Forlan as players, as a good strikers that played for Atleti, and mainly because not only for his goal-scoring threat, but he's also very creative and has a great link-up play. I believe he made 23 key passes in 28 appearances last season for Rayo, and that's basically averaging 1 key pass a game. And I believe he will develop well with his compatriots, Diego Costa, Felipe Luis, and especially under Diego Simeone.
I think Leo Baptistao is going to be a great player to keep an eye on. The player that I will be watching, his name is Thierry Bifuma, plays for Espanyol. Last year, he went on loan to Las Palmas, and he had a decent season. He scored 11 goals and contributed 9 assists. But this year, he's been a sub for Espanyol, and in 3 sub appearances, he's scored 2 goals in separate matches. 1 goal was a tying goal, which is huge. And the reason why I picked him is because the first time I watched him was Gamper Trophy against Barcelona, and he played the whole game, and he scored a hat-trick against us. And he absolutely devastated us. Type of player he is, it's very similar to Samuel Eto'o. He's extremely fast. He's a good finisher. He kind of plays on the wings, but he can go inside as well. Definitely watch out for him. He's definitely going to be moving to a bigger club sometime soon. Something better than Espanyol anyways. So everyone has presented a player to keep an eye on. I've also asked everyone to prepare a Player of the Month nomination. Darius, who do you think should deserve this?
Well, I guess no surprise here. I'm going to be a little biased in my opinion, but I think Isco was the Player of the Month for me. I think he hit the ground running with Real Madrid, scoring a decider in our first match there, against Real Betis. When we needed him, he stepped up with a header, no doubt, being one of the shortest guys on the field. I mean, that's you could see the surprise in his face when he scored that header and how happy he was. He's got already 127, 128 completed passes in the 3 games. He's got 3 goals already under his belt. He's been popping up all over the field for Real Madrid. If you look at some of his Squawka stats, I mean, he's pretty much well distributed all over, even in defense and offense, in the center of the pitch, on the left, on the right. He pops up everywhere. Right now, he's got about an 87% pass completion percentage. I think that's quite good. I think as he develops and as he gets older and more experienced, you're going to see that definitely go into the 90s. And he's probably going to be following suit like, some of the extraordinary guys like Iniesta with like a 97% pass completion ratio or something ridiculous like that. But I see Isco as, for me, as player of the month, and probably going to be my favorite player all season, to be honest with you.
Good shout out. I was actually going to say Isco too, but let's pass it on to Marcos. Marcos, who do you think was...
I actually thought about saying Isco, but I felt like that might have been predictable, and I guess it was. So I went with Giovanni Dos Santos, just for a quick reason that, he made 3 appearances for Villarreal, and 2 of them was coming off, or not, 2 of them wasn't playing the full 90, so he wasn't playing the full game, but he still managed to help Villarreal secure the full 9 points from 3 games with 2 goals and 2 assists. And I think he would be a big-time player for Villarreal as they continue their return to La Liga, and, he helped them to a winning streak right now, which is good, and that's why I put him as my player of the month.
No, I agree. Dos Santos has had a great month too, and Isco too. Well, I chose Isco, but I'll talk a little bit about Jonathan Dos Santos and Villarreal. I think he's been such a great player for them. I think they haven't had a player like him since before Rossi got injured. They sold Cazorla. He's going to be such a key player for them. So we finished up the La Liga part of this, and I just want to touch on some of the Champions League teams. How do you guys think they will do in the Champions League? We have Barcelona drawn with AC Milan, Ajax, and Celtic. And then we have Real Madrid with Juventus, Galatasaray, and can't remember the last one.
FC Copenhagen.
Yep. How do you guys think they will do in the groups? Will they breeze by?
I don't see a problem with both either Barcelona or Real Madrid going through. Whether or not it's going to be a breeze, I think Real Madrid, we have a very competitive group. Juve matchup is going to be mouth-watering for all fans involved. I think Galatasaray is going to be someone to not underestimate. And I wouldn't underestimate FC Copenhagen either. I think it's a very competitive group. I think all our Spanish clubs, to be honest with you, have a very good shot, at least at finishing second. In Atletico Madrid's group, I think they're with Porto, Zenit St. Petersburg, and Austria Wien. I think Atletico has a great chance to go through in that group. And I wouldn't. I think the toughest group for me in this whole Champions League draw is probably Real Sociedad's group, with Man U, Shakhtar Donetsk, Bayer Leverkusen, and Sociedad. I think it's a pretty even a group. I think it's going to be very competitive, and that group may come down to, who knows, maybe a point or 2 or a tie, who knows. But I can also see Real Sociedad making it through. So I think the chances of seeing all our Spanish clubs make it to the next round is pretty good.
Yeah, I think so too. What do you think, Marcos?
Yeah, I agree. I think... Well, Real Madrid and Barcelona won't breeze by their third groups. I'm pretty sure they're favorites and they'll make it through easily. Or not easily, but they will make it through. As for Atletico, they got a great draw right there for themselves for their first time back in the Champions League. And I also believe they could top out the group and move on to the elimination stage. And then for Real Sociedad, they have a tough group, as the artist mentioned, but I don't see them moving through. This is their first time in this Champions League, and I don't know if they've ever been in before, but this is at least for a while. And you got Galatasaray, kind of a veteran in there, United, and Shakhtar. I think it'll be tough for them. They'll definitely compete for the second spot, but I probably see them going to Europa, to be honest.
Yeah, Europa League wouldn't be a failure for them. It is an extremely tough group. I think it's very even, and it comes to like a dice roll. I don't think Man United have strength in this window. Shakhtar Donetsk, they're a team that you can't really discount because they have sold some players, but they've also added some players like Bernard, who was heavily sought after this summer. And then Bayer Leverkusen finished very strong in Bundesliga last year. It's going to be probably the group to watch. A lot of people are saying that Group F with Borussia Dortmund, Arsenal, Napoli, and Marseille is the group of death, but I think we can equally say that Group A is also the group of death.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Barcelona, I don't think they will have too many problems. Milan's going to be so easy to take on. We've played them so many times before.
Oh, God.
Just kidding, Marcos. Just kidding. Atletico, I think, will make it out of their group. They're a lot stronger than a lot of people give them credit for, and they have a chip on their shoulder. They have things to prove, which I think can go a long way in Champions League. Marcos, how do you think Milan will do in their group?
Oh, they'll get all 18 points easily. Trust me.
I just had to let you have a dig at me too. Anyways, this concludes the end of our podcast. Thanks for listening, and thanks Darius and Marcos for making time and taking the effort to be on this podcast. Hope to hear from them soon, and hope to hear from you guys, the listeners. Please leave your feedback. Tell us how we can get better. And take care. Enjoy your football.